Thank you. First, gentlemen, incredible story. Thank you for being here and sharing that story today. A difficult one for me to follow, but I thank you for the honor. What I like and are no credit to you and your team is the different levels of innovation that have been covered at this conference. We've talked about technology. We've talked about a new sport. What I want to talk about is an innovation in a conversation. That conversation is between a sports event producer or a sports governing body, a government that wants to host a major event, and the society that that event is going to take place in. So let me kind of give you my credentials first, and then I'll lead into the conversation. This is my company, Advanced Brand Consulting. I founded this last year. It has been an amazing ride so far. I'm fortunate to be doing some work here in Mexico City with Horacio de la Vega and his team. You should know, you really have a fantastic government entity here, not only with the Sports Institute, but from the mayor's office down. When I work with other governments and other sports federations and sports institutes from around the world, they are not nearly as advanced as Mexico City's is. So there's a really great opportunity for Mexico City to continue to grow, continue to host new events, continue to get to new metrics of success. So this is the goal of my company. I really want everything to be measurable. I want to understand what the goals are for that city, for that region, for that country, if they're going to bid on an event. Is it tourism related? Is it about a reputation management issue? Is it about economic development, or is it social change? Is it trying to inspire people to get healthy, to get active, those type of pieces? I previously worked for Mayor Michael Bloomberg in New York City. He founded his company on data. He actually had a great phrase. It was, "In God we trust, all else bring data." So that's how I want to measure the results of whether an event is successful, whether a sport is successful. So I've got two videos here that show how actually, let me finish with this first. This will set up the videos easier. So this is my experience. I've worked for the New York Yankees. As I mentioned, I worked at City Hall for Mayor Bloomberg, and I ran the New York City Sports Commission, so the same as the Sports Institute here in Mexico City. During my time at the Sports Commission, I wrote and won bids for the NFL Super Bowl. We had the first cold weather Super Bowl in the New York, New Jersey area. We won the bid for Major League Baseball's All-Star Game twice while I was working for New York City. We hosted it at the old Yankee Stadium before they opened the new one, and then we hosted it at Citi Field, the home of the Mets. And then we were fortunate enough in 2015 to host the NBA All-Star Game. And again, an interesting mix there because the game itself was at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, but the slam dunk competition and some of the other ancillary events took place at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Now, I'll lead into two videos. One is how we positioned New York City and the Sports Commission to help major events come to the area. And the second one is the video we produced when we were bidding for the 2022 World Cup. So it'll give you another indication of how we position the city for those type of events.
People want to go to New York. That's where stars are born and stars are made. And that's why every athlete I know around the world will want to come to New York and showcase their talent.
Thank you. So that's how we position New York City. One of the big takeaways from those videos from me is if you stage an event in New York City or the New York, New Jersey area, almost every ethnicity in the world is represented in that region. You don't have to bring your event internationally to speak to the African market, to speak to the Asian market. You host an event in New York City, you're already building a base there. So that was one of the big selling points for us. The other one was global media. Every media entity in the world has a headquarters or an operation in New York City. So if you were going to stage an event there, you knew you were going to get global exposure. And out of those events, my favorite was snowboarding in Times Square. That was one of the ones where people really stopped to look at it and say, how are you going to do that? But luckily, we were able to shut down Times Square. We shut down traffic. We made fake snow. Great event for everybody involved. So today, I really want to talk about this intersection, sports, government, and society. I think Tanya raised a good point in her remarks about Rio yesterday, for those that were there. She suggested that society, the public, get involved in the conversation earlier on in the process, and I could not agree more. Understanding everybody's metrics for success and putting together a viable bid based on those is of the utmost importance, especially now with the conversation about hosting major events and sports events shifting towards how much is it going to cost. I think the IOC realizes this now. They've put in a new agenda. They're starting to discuss different methods as to how the games can be bid for and hosted. I think we'll see what FIFA decides to do. I certainly think they're in the same situation. What they decide to do, we'll see. So currently, this is my kind of real snapshot on the major events world. The sport, the event owner, they create the bid. They know exactly what it is they're trying to accomplish. Whether it's business focused, they're trying to generate revenue, whether it's to grow a new market, whether it's to appease sponsors, they know what they want to accomplish. So they're going to create a bid that allows them to accomplish each one of those metrics. The government, national, local, are there to fulfill the bid requirements and submit a bid. Now, in my experience, there's some negotiation in that space, but not enough. There's not enough dialogue. There's not enough conversation to understand what a shared success would be from those two entities. Lastly, the society. The society wants to understand, what's it mean for me? Okay, an event is coming to the market. How is it going to impact my life, negatively or positively? This is how I think the dynamic should go. It shouldn't be silos. It should not be verticals. If this were a table, each one of those people would have a seat at the table, and understanding exactly what it is each party's trying to accomplish. So for sports, quick look at what their metrics for success are. So an event owner, a sports league, a team, right? They want to open a new market. They want to identify new fans. They want to grow their game. They want to look to identify new commercial partners, open up new revenue channels. Let's take a market like Mexico and Mexico City with the NFL potentially. They want to make sure they catalyze their core base. They know they've got fans here. They want to make sure that they're keeping them avid fans or they're moving casual fans to avid fans. In some instances, depending on the event, it's a revenue generator for them. In other situations, they understand that bringing a big event to a market might not be where they generate their revenue, but they're going to generate it in the longer term. And of course, the legacy. What's going to happen with that event after they leave town? Is it a one-off event? Are they looking to develop the market? For government, I think reputation management is one of the biggest issues. You can use hosting a major event to solidify your reputation as one of the world's greatest cities, or you can use it as a way to change the perception that you might have in the market. If people understand your city to be something that it's not, bringing the world in, bringing certain regions in to experience your city firsthand goes a long way in changing that reputation. There's certainly the tourism aspect of it. You're going to put heads in beds. They are going to come, the competitors, their families, those type of pieces. So you're going to have a short-term bump while the event's in town, but what happens afterwards? Are they going to come back? Are they going to plan a vacation? Are they going to tell their friends, hey, you should go check out that city? So those are some of the metrics you need to continue to follow on after you host a major event. Economic development. Is it going to spur spending in restaurants, in shopping, in those type of places. Infrastructure, obviously a big part of hosting any major event. Again, Tanya spoke about it yesterday, where Rio has a budget for hosting the games, and then they have a budget for creating new infrastructure, specifically transportation. That was something that Rio was going to invest in anyway, but because they are hosting the Olympic Games, it fast-tracked when the government made those improvements. Rio is actually another city I'm working with on their post-Olympic strategy. So understanding what those investments that they've made can be used for down the road and stopping this conversation of white elephants and unused stadiums. Health and wellness, making sure that the community understands you can participate in these games. There's a way to do it, and to do it long term. New industries is an interesting one to me. Taking a major event, moving away from sports for a second. Let's say Mexico City was the host of Microsoft conference. Now, Microsoft conferences actually generate an enormous amount of economic impact. So can you bring a Microsoft conference to a city that will spur the tech community? Will it interest startups? Will it get new investors in the market? So using events to do that. And again, legacy here for government, and I look at that from my experience in New York City Hall of the legacy of the elected officials that were involved in that event. Many of them are going to go on and accomplish other things in their post-political life, and how does the legacy of that event impact that? And lastly, for society, and again, this is the one I think that really needs to get elevated. Society wants to understand the cost, and they want to understand the benefits. And laying those out at the beginning is an important part. The day-to-day impact. How is this event going to affect me? What is going to close? What is going to open? Am I going to have an opportunity to generate revenue for myself because of this event coming to town? Economic impact, again, that's a question of how much are they going to see? And then legacy for society, what are they still going to have access to once the event leaves town? Is there a long-term play, or is this a one-off event? So again, looking at all of these across each category, there's a couple of shared success areas. Economic. The sport or event owner wants to understand what the profitable scenario is for them. That could be on the event, that could be a longer-term strategy. The government wants to understand what a reasonable budget is, and they want to stick to that budget. The closer you can get to that budget and not have conversations about cost overruns, the better. Obviously, that's going to help the public dialogue around those. And the community and the society really wants to understand, again, how does this affect me? So with Super Bowl in New York City, and they've continued it since, they've put in a small business program where local small businesses have an opportunity to work with the NFL, work with the event owners, the ancillary event owners, work with people that are producing parties around the Super Bowl, so that there's a trickle-down effect into the local community. On the other side, I think legacy is obviously a clear point for all areas. The sports organizations, many of them have moved on past the one-off event idea and are really building long-term strategies. So they want to make sure that if they're going to bring an event to a market, that this is the start of the conversation with the community or a continuation of it. This isn't just a one-off practice. Achieved vision for government. Again, that's laying out what's going to be in the bid, being realistic about the bid, but also working closely with the other parties at the table that understand chances are you've been awarded the bid, you're not going to host the event for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road. Market conditions are going to change. Economies change, people change, these type of things. So an achieved vision, not necessarily achieved tactics. And lastly, I think society wants a better quality of life. They want to know that there is a real impact on a personal level for them. And I make these points to say I think the conversation is evolving. It is one that I founded my company on. This is a vision that I'm trying to share with the market and understand. And I would say along those lines that most people understand that. Most people understand that the major event, the hosting conversation needs to change. The FIFA World Cup in Russia and Qatar was a great catalyst for the change in that conversation, and I think you're going to see that continue to grow. Thank you.